Okay, I'm gonna start the recording. Marilyn's trying to connect, so we'll start the meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:08. And we have Nora Jones, Carol Jordan.
I have to open that thing up top.
Jackie Kulig and Kathy Demers, as well as Marilyn Schreiber here at the meeting. Patty Phillips and Laura Rodriguez are excused. So Marilyn, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, but I
Okay.
generally I open something up at the top of it so that I can see everybody.
Yeah, the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure.
Yeah, take your time.
But I can, okay, there I got, we have 3 people at the meeting plus me?
And Jackie.
And Jackie.
Okay.
She's just not visible either right now.
Yeah,
But
okay.
yeah, if you want to try to join via video, that's great, but you don't have to. You can just listen and talk.
Yes.
If you need to.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Patty and Laura are excused tonight. Do I hear a motion to seat Nora?
I'll make a motion to seat Nora for Patty.
Okay, second.
I'll
Jackie?
second the motion.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes for November 20th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes
Okay.
from November 20th.
I believe there's some corrections that need to be made.
Yes, we can talk about that in
Okay.
discussion. Carol, or do you want?
But I think before you approve the minutes,
Okay.
this would be the appropriate time to entertain any corrections to said
Okay.
minutes.
All right.
I will not
Go
address
ahead.
that. Somebody else should.
All right, well, I'll address it. I made a mistake during the last meeting, and I said that Jackie and Patty had been reappointed by the Board of Selectmen, and it was Jackie and Carol. So that should be corrected in the minutes. Any other corrections we should make, Carol, that you have a suggestion about? Or anyone
Not that
else?
I don't think there was any. I wasn't at the meeting, but so I need to abstain from approval of the minutes anyway.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the minutes with that correction?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the correction.
Okay, here a second.
I'll second that, Marilyn Schreiber.
Thank you, Marilyn. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? And Carol, you're abstaining?
I'm abstaining, yes.
Okay.
Also
Now
abstaining.
this,
And Jackie, because you weren't here. Okay, very good. Okay, we'll make those corrections. Present to speak, I don't see anybody from the public here with us tonight. Carol, would you like to give a treasurer's report?
Sure. Things are as far as things that have actually been paid were the same as before.
yeah.
There is a correction to the amount that was on the expenses for Kathy to be reimbursed for the expenses associated with the workday because she returned some items to Willard's. So the bill for that, which I will be submitting tomorrow, is $61.52 rather than the amount as shown in the minutes.
Okay, very good.
They're bringing actual expenses to date to $221.52 and after subtracting those expenses and encumbering $100 for the library raffle basket, we have unencumbered balance of $1,178.48.
Okay, Carol, could you please just read that unencumbered balance again, please?
$1,178.48.
Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. And then I always like to mention our ARPA budget. We have a balance right now of $1,802.90. As we discussed last meeting, we now have a purchase order that we can use at Willard's to use the remainder of the funds before March 31st, 2026. So under finances, I also had listed some discussion we might have about our budget request for next year, because it seems like we always get kind of a curveball. They ask for the budget and we're like, we don't have time because we don't have a meeting in between. So I thought we could discuss
Have you
that
heard
now.
anything? Because usually they're asking by now, or they ask in sometime in early December for a budget request to be turned around in a couple of weeks, but I haven't heard anything, and have you either?
I haven't, but like I said, it seems like sometimes all of a sudden you get a request and they want it in 2 weeks. So I thought we should just maybe discuss it tonight, and then we'll be prepared if they send it out in January after we meet, or if we don't meet for some reason. So, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, given that we haven't spent an awful lot of money year to date, I guess I would be inclined to suggest that we ask for the same amount of money for next year, unless somebody thinks of a good reason why we should request an increase.
And as I recall, didn't Bob say last year we bumped it up a little bit last year, or from the previous year?
Nope.
No.
Maybe you're
Okay.
thinking of the CIP budget or the
Oh,
request.
maybe. Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, we haven't, and I actually, I usually do a updated chart on the history of what we've spent, and I haven't done that, but I know we were well within our budget last year. As a matter of fact,
Yeah, I think we
tell
were
you
pretty
that.
close. I think we spent, maybe within $100 or $200
Yeah,
of
that's
the
what I'm looking for.
1,500.
I'm
Yeah.
looking for last year's.
But given that we have the ARPA money, we'll probably be able to, we'll want to use that for any building materials that we're going to use. And that's usually what costs us the most in our budget.
Yeah,
What we-
last year we spent about $1,251.12. So we spent all but $248.08 of our budget last year.
Yeah.
We've still got time to spend. We're only halfway through the fiscal year, not even. So,
Right. And so our unencumbered balance, you said, was $1,100 or almost $1,200. So we still have a lot
yeah.
left in there.
That's after paying you and setting aside $100 for the raffle basket.
Yeah, we don't know what that number is yet, that final, we have to wait from the finance office.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
great.
And that's no problem if it goes, given where our present situation, I don't think there's any problem if it goes over slightly anyway.
Okay. So do people have any other ideas or thoughts about our annual budget request, which is typically $1,500? Are people comfortable with that number?
This is Marilyn. I'm comfortable for that number because we never know when something is going to break or we need to improve something, and we don't spend the money foolishly.
Right. And
And
my-
that'll give us enough money if we need to do anything on the new trail at Tent Ruby.
Right. I
Mhm.
mean, we're gonna have to pay for a sign to put up
Yeah.
on the property. And we might even want to put a bench or something out there. Those are, some options that we have.
Yeah, but we still have the ARPA funds, which we have to spend. If we want to spend them, we have to do it before the end of 2026. So if we have any major need for repairs, trail maintenance repairs, we could take them from the ARPA funds if necessary. And that would give us some of the money we need for other things.
Right, absolutely.
And we have, and Kathy, there's some money built into the 42,000 that was approved last night to cover some of the, to cover the costs of associated with the new property.
Right. Yeah, particularly
So
for the remediation.
the
Yeah.
remediation stuff, we can, that could cover some things. And we can pay some out of the New Year's budget because we aren't going to run out there and put up a sign tomorrow. We have to, you know, negotiate, I think, some things like on the wording of what I know that the seller has some thoughts on what they'd like to see in terms of signage honoring them and her husband and herself.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, if no one has any other thoughts on changing what we annually have been asking for, can I hear a motion to, for our budget request? Somebody want to put forward a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the budget request for the same amount of money that we requested last year,
Okay,
Which is,
which is
$1,500.
okay,
$1,500.
okay, great. All right, and do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Marilyn. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstained? Okay, so moved, thank you. Moving on to the next request, bigger money, CIP request. And what we have been doing for the last few years is asking for $30,000 annually to be placed in the open space fund. They usually ask us what we want to see for the next 5 years, but they only really vote on the coming year. But they like us to make projections, and what they have been doing when we've requested the 30,000 is to give us 25,000. And as you know, we'll be expending up to 42,000 out of the open space fund this year for the PEDX purchase. Does anybody have some thoughts or ideas of what we want to request then this year for
Yeah,
capital improvement?
I've had problems. I can't find, going on the town's website, I can't find access to the final CIP reports. We have received monies for last year and this year at the figure of 25,000. But I had understood Bob to say at one point that they were giving us 25 for the first year, and we were expecting 30 for the current fiscal year, but we have only received 25.
Right. Well, I think year by year they vote on that budget. They may have said that first year they gave us the 25,000, that the next year they would, bump it up to 30, but year by year is what they go by, is how I understand it, Carol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's a 5-year plan. Every year it's supposed to be the plan that covers the 5-year. And I'm sure they revisit things, but technically speaking, it's every year's plan is a 5-year plan. So
True, that's true. The plan should reflect the request of 30,000 for each
well,
of the
it should
years.
request, if they what they approve, and what they should be approving is, a 5-year plan. So I guess my question was, what was actually put into the plan for years past for the current year and the next 3 years thereafter.
Yeah.
So-
Well, you could reach out to Christina Malos maybe, to see if she could provide that.
Yeah, but it kind of bothers me that the CIP plan isn't readily available on the town's website. Or maybe I just wasn't searching in the correct way. but I couldn't find it.
Did you look under the CIP committee?
I don't.
Because they have a separate
Yeah.
webpage like we do.
Yeah.
Try that. If you're not successful, let me know. I can ask Christina or we can make mention to her that that would be good to have on the website.
Yeah, well, it would just be good for us to have a copy of it
Yeah.
when it's approved. And
Yeah, I mean, I
it's a
think,
very lengthy document, but it would be nice to see at least the summary page that shows what's been allotted.
right. Yep, good point. I mean, it would be nice for each department or commission that's requesting funding, perhaps to get some kind of a notice about their request.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we've never been notified of what it is we're supposed to be getting under what's been approved. So be nice to know.
Yeah.
And now that we are spending some money from the open space fund, then this might be a time to say, hey, we'd like a little bit more money, since we were not given the full amount requested for the last 2 years. And we need to start bumping up the open space fund again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Any other thoughts on a CIP request for the coming year?
well, actually, for the
If they've put
year.
in, if they've put in for 30,000, let's just say that that's the way the plan reads. Maybe what we can do then, Carol, is for the years going forward from this year, is to ask for a bump up.
Yep. Ask for 35
Yeah.
or 40 or 50. You know, that's going to be a reach.
Yeah,
But
Well,
yeah, I think
if you don't increase it, you'll never, you're just, there's nothing wrong with asking for more, and if they turn it down, it's fine, but they could say, sure, you guys do a good job with the money that we give you, you don't waste it. So I don't know, I'd say shoot for the moon, and if you end up you get a star instead of the moon, at least you tried.
yeah, but I certainly wouldn't ask for less than the 30 that we've been requesting. And I might try and get in touch with Christina and see, what's up with that. But I do think that they ought to, as a courtesy, let people, the requesters, know what action has been taken. But as I said, it's if you can't even get ready access to the plan online, it would be nice to get a notification just as a courtesy, so we know, so we can plan
right, definitely.
how much more to ask them for the next time around.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be, because we have to go forward to the CIP committee to justify why we're requesting what we're requesting. So I think based on the fact that we're going to be withdrawing some money out of the open space fund for this purchase, that we could justify increasing the ask for, the years beyond this year because of that. So maybe bumping up those requests to, 35,000 for the years beyond that, or 40. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yep. I'm just looking for my copy. I think it's 119,000. Kathy, wasn't it? That's in the
Yes,
in
but that's gonna, whatever we use up for the open space.
right, but that was
It was
in my hands, right?
119.
Oh, yeah, wait a sec.
Yeah.
Somewhere under here I have this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I looked that up
Report from
before you.
Don, it was 119,000 at the end of the last fiscal year.
Right,
Oh, no, at the end of this year. Wait a sec. Where are we? Fiscal year 24-25. 119,355 is on the report, but that's as of September 30th of this year.
and as you and I spoke the other day, there's potentially some more money coming in from fee and lieu that we have to look into.
Yeah,
I don't
That's-
know how much that'll be, but
I think that's something to follow up on, and I did, as you know, I did talk with Evelyn in the land use office, and she was gonna look into what's happening. The question was, we believe that there might be, we don't remember there being any open space taken on the subdivision on Hancock Road. And we believe that there are a couple of properties that have been completed, and in that case, there should have been a request, fee in lieu of open space. And that's supposed to be paid as each part, a CO is issued on each parcel, at the time that parcel is approved and the house is built and all of that. We're supposed to get it, on a per lot basis. It's based on number of lots, and the fee per lot should be collected anytime a CO is issued for one of the lots having been, approved for habitation. And then
so,
we should look into some of the other subdivisions also.
so if there's 119,000 in the open space fund, and we subtract 42,000 for the PEDX purchase, then that's gonna leave us with $78,000 in the open space fund.
Marina.
So, if they put in another, 25,000 going forward this year, we'll be back over 100,000. But, it would be nice maybe to go forward and ask for more in the following years. So keep it at 30. This is my suggestion. Keep it at
Yeah,
30 for this coming year, because that's what was in their budget. But perhaps propose to kick that up to 35,000 for the following 4 years.
Yeah, for 5 years would be, for each of the next 5 years.
Okay, is it the current year plus 4, or is it the current year plus 5?
Current year plus 4. I mean, it's for the upcoming year, so the request would be, I believe, for 2025, 26, because we're already in 24, 25, and we've already received that money.
Right, but they've
So we'd
budgeted.
be asking for 25, 26 budget, and 4 more years.
Right, so this year, our request would be for 30,000, because that's what we budgeted for, or they budgeted for. And we had requested last year for this year,
Mm-hmm.
but
So we
we
would
can
say-
justify, I think, increasing it for the next 4 years after that because of the PEDX purchase.
Actually, we can bump it up if you want to. We can bump it up now. Add at least another 5
For this current year,
we've already gotten our money for this year.
no, but I mean, the first year, next year, let's put it that way, for next year's request.
Yeah, we've already gotten our money for 24, 25.
Yeah,
And so the first year we'd be asking for is 25, 26.
Yeah.
I'd say, why don't we ask for 35 or 40 for the next few years to make up for the amount of money that the PEDX expenses.
okay,
The problem is that we never know when an opportunity is going to present itself.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to try and ask for reasonable amounts of money. And I see no reason not to put in for an increase of at least 5 in
Mhm.
our annual request.
Okay. Anyone else have some thoughts on
We
that?
certainly didn't have any problems getting that motion through last night's meeting.
No, that's not usually a problem at the town meeting. The issues is often at the CIP level.
True.
There are some
well-
people that are very supportive, and some people who are very concerned about, overall costs for the town. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Although I think we have a reputation of coming forward with very well constructed proposals and thoroughly researched projects, and where appropriate, applying for state funding as we're able, depending on the project, and you know, so I think we have the Conservation Commission has a reputation of being very presenting proposals that are fiscally sound.
You know, whenever we go up to the park, the parking lot is generally mostly full, and there's plenty of people enjoying themselves there. And I think we have to remind that to the people who are on the CIP commission that may not be outdoors people. That I can't remember the time that I've gone in there with Dave to go for a hike, and you have to hope that you're going to get a parking space. And I think that shows how important that parcel is to the towns that are surrounded, because and because of that, there's a lot of foot traffic, there's a lot of traffic over the bridges and everything there. And over time, with sun and soil and rain and snow, things need to be replaced. It's just part of living. But I think because we get such a good show of people, that we deserved to have money to spend to keep the park up to snuff.
The money that we'd be asking for in the CIP would be more specific to the land purchase. You know,
Right.
the cost for the legal expenses and
Yes.
service and things, yeah. And you know, I don't think the CIP committee members have been opposed to you know, the whole concept of open space, but there have been some members that have some reservations about putting away money and letting it just sit in an account versus if we find a parcel, this is what we used to be told, if you find a parcel, come to us and we'll find the money. And so
That's really not acceptable, because
I agree.
there are other demands, and what many towns have is they have have an authorization, standing authorization, usually for X million dollars, and that so that if they have come across a parcel or that is ripe for acquisition, they already have in place an authorization to spend X dollars toward acquiring additional open space. So whereas Willington, it's just, you know, the arguments for competing interests in town, and they can say all they want to about coming up with the money, but we have certainly done our bit to make sure that the costs for acquiring property are as low as possible. And I don't think that anybody appreciates the amount of effort that went into the proposals when we went for state funding, because they were extremely time consuming and difficult, particularly the last round. So, and then in that regard, we also are in good standing because we have made those efforts without virtually no professional assistance. We put together really sound proposals for grant money and received grant money as a result. So
Yeah.
that's, you know, where I come from.
Oh, no, I'm not,
The argument does, we've been lucky so far, but I think that it's just if something comes along that really is an important parcel for us to acquire, then relying on them saying, oh, well, we'll find the money somewhere. Question is, where is that somewhere, and what other competing interests will there be at the time that something might come along?
Any other comments from anyone else? Thoughts?
So what do you want us to ask for? Somebody got a figure they'd like to throw out?
I'll trust you guys. You have a much better handle on it than I do.
Well, you know, I think we should be asking for more. Certainly more than if we've been asking for 30, they've been giving us 25. I think we should probably ask for 35 or 40 and they can shoot holes in that. But at least there's a recognition that the money has been being put to good use.
Mhm.
And that the proposals, every proposal that we've brought forward to the town has been carefully researched. And I don't think we've had a vote in a town meeting for any of these projects that was less than unanimous.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay, so what's the number that we want to put out? Do you want to go with 35 or 40,000 for our request? Anybody want to make a motion?
I think you should go higher. So if you need to go lower, you're not cutting it too tight. Go
Okay,
with a higher number.
with 40?
Yeah, and that way, if you have to go down, if you start with a lower number, they're still going to want to cut you down. So you might as well start with a high number.
Right, you can
Right,
ask for 40,
right.
you might just get 25 again, but yeah.
Well, you
I
know,
think you might as well put the bigger number in there just to, and maybe when you go to do that, maybe somebody should put up together a quick flyer of what we have done in even in the last year to make the park better than it has been, just to show them what we do, because maybe a lot of the people that are on that committee don't like walking in the woods or don't have the capacity to walk in the woods. And if we made us up a piece of paper that said, this is what we've done this year, these are the things that we've fixed in the park, it would be really nice if we could get a people somehow that you could tell them how many people actually visit that park on a yearly basis. I bet you the number is pretty high.
and there are plenty of other arguments for preserving open space, including the fact that you reduce cost if land is permanently preserved, then it reduces potential costs for the towns of new residential construction, where costs of education and other services can increase
Yes.
as a result of increased population, which
Yeah.
is, as it has pluses and minuses. It brings in tax revenue, but the tax revenue is not always sufficient to, particularly if there are children in the school to be educated in the school system.
Mhm.
So, you know, there are lots of arguments we can bring forward. And the worst they can do is say no or to reduce our request. But I think we're in good position to argue for the benefits of open space in a number of different ways.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
somebody making a motion to ask for 40, was that Marilyn? Were you making a motion?
Yes, I made a motion.
Okay, so ask for
Second.
40 per year.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Nora. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay, thank you. All right. Properties management. I had a brief discussion with Selectman Tanaka, just to talk a little bit, let him know that we would like to speak to him a little bit more about considering how we can work together more with Public Works and Park and Rec for property management. And so he said in the new year that he would consider getting together the director from Public Works as well as the director from Park and Rec to discuss that. But now I hear that our director of Park and Rec is leaving. James is leaving to go to another job, so we'll see where that all goes. As far as Fenton Ruby Park and the Drobny Sanctuary, the only steward's report I had was that Patty reported a broken slat on one of the bridges on Julia's Trail. So some point in the next month or so, we'll try to get out there and repair that.
Kathy?
Yep.
Before we go any further, did you have anything under collaborative organizations? Because that's on the agenda, Cackaway.
Did I skip it?
Yeah, I don't think there's probably nothing to report from Cackaway.
Hang on a second. I just want to grab my agenda. Am I out of order here?
Oh,
Under
wait,
old
I'm not
business?
looking, I've got the agenda from the wrong month.
Yeah, because
My
I
problem is-
changed that agenda.
I'm sorry, I will have to, I don't,
Yep, I have it as
got
property
the wrong
management.
agenda. I'm sorry. All right, that could be
That's
why.
okay.
So
Okay.
what that, so my apologies.
No worries. Okay, so under Fenton Ruby Park, the other thing we want to discuss tonight is Jackie went out with Austin Harmon from Hull Forestry, and they did a joint review of some of the forest stands that Jackie said she would report on tonight. So take it away, Jackie.
Hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, let me figure out where my microphone even is on this. Anyways, can you hear me like this?
Yeah, can everybody hear Jackie?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Oh, actually, I think it might, can you hear me better like this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, I
that's
found
good.
out where it is. All right. Were you gonna share the map on the screen?
yes, thank you. I will do that right now. So here's the forest stand map.
Yep.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so Austin and I went out, and the first area we walked was stand 9, which is right uphill from the parking area. And that is the area that Conwood had identified to be treated first if we were going to do some harvesting, because it's like the highest density and could benefit most from removing poorer quality trees and opening up areas for better quality trees to thrive. But they had actually recommended a heavier harvest, which is called a shelter wood, which is more of like a regeneration harvest. So not maintaining the current stand, but trying to regenerate a new stand with young trees. Not a clear cut, but taking out a significant amount and leaving only really scattered overstory trees. So Austin and I talked about that, and I kind of recommended that, you know, I did think that that area would be a good area to treat, but maybe not do quite as intensive a harvest. Some of the other areas had recommended more of like thinning or selection harvest. So we were talking about in stand 9 doing something more like that, and maybe doing a few larger patch cuts to try to diversify the stand, get some more young trees in there, but overall not do quite as intensive a harvest. The main reasons being, I think it would be, you know, it is a public park, and, you know, public perception is going to be important. And I think, you know, a heavier cut would certainly be shocking to a lot of people. But another thing that comes to mind for me is invasive plants, which are a problem throughout the property, and not in this stand really, not bad. So if we, you know, did a heavier cut right off the bat, there's the potential that we could get pretty bad invasive plant problems. Whereas if we did a more gradual, you know, lighter cut this time, and, you know, maybe revisit it in the future, but you know, lighter harvest to begin with, we might not, or we can at least assess how the invasive plants are coming into the stand or spreading, and maybe have a, you know, have a better opportunity to just remove small amounts versus having a huge problem.
Jackie, I have a question. Who's Austin?
Oh, Austin Harmon is from Hull Forest Products.
Is he the one that's been, is involved with some other, timber harvest proposals
Yeah, he walked with
in
us.
town?
I forget, there was the Wilford Farms property, off of Meadow Lane, is it, Kathy?
Yeah, where there's a conservation easement on it for the town and
Yeah, so last year we had walked the easement portion with Austin, because they were doing.
Yeah, because I know that on Monday night, the Inland Wetlands Commission had several forestry projects, brought in, and there was some question about whether we might want to use the same harvester, or if we were looking to do a harvest that is doing some of these other projects in town.
Right, yeah, I'm not sure who else is doing it in town. I know Hull had sent out, like, we received a letter in the mail, you know, for our property, and I'm sure many other landowners in town received letters from Hull about doing work on their property.
Yeah, I'll check with my husband and see who it
Yeah.
was, who the forester was that came in for that meeting last night, but
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so I just,
Yeah, it might be Austin, but yeah, I'm not sure. So yeah, that was the first stand we walked. The other stand that was recommended to be treated soon, but not, I think it wasn't maybe till 2026, was stand 7. And that was a lighter, more selection harvest. So that's more in the realm of removing maybe 30% of the overstory. And certainly the quality and health of the trees suggests that some removal, that amount of removal would be beneficial. There are a lot more invasive plants in that area. So I was kind of hesitant to move forward with that too quickly, just because, a dense canopy keeps the understory from proliferating, and sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not. You want to hopefully encourage different age classes of native trees and shrubs, but having the invasive plants already a big problem in that stand, I would just be hesitant to do too much disturbance, because also soil disturbance from the machinery can create a nice seed bed for invasive plants, and so I was a little more hesitant about that area. But I kind of figured that if we did want to go forward with a harvest, that we would probably only want to pick one area anyways, just to keep as many trails open as possible. And
yeah, so then Conwood's recommendation, so you would be inclined to follow Conwood's recommendation not to do anything there until 2026?
Or, maybe revisit it around then, the idea of it, but, no treatment is also an option, which I'm kind of in favor of at the moment for that stand. Unless we were somehow got the invasive plants under control, which I don't see happening
No,
feasibly,
there's a reason they call them invasive,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason that they call them that. And yes, you're right. It is really hard to get an upper hand on it.
I don't think anyone really is fully eradicating them at this point, but if we can keep them from spreading and keep the native diversity that is there, then I think we're in good shape. I don't think it's even realistic at this point to eradicate invasive plant populations. That's my opinion, but and I don't think that the sprays are a good alternative, because those are destructive in other ways. So
and
choose your battles, I guess.
Jackie, would you agree that most of the invasives that we're seeing in those areas are probably Japanese barberry?
Yeah, it was mostly what I was seeing was barberry. I think there was a little bit of bittersweet. Here, let me just pull up the I have the stand description for that one.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, mostly they just, Conwood only mentioned Japanese barberry. I'm
Okay,
pretty sure I saw some bittersweet as well. And it's
Okay.
just that stand being lower lying with the stream beds, that's tends to be where there are more invasives. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's
Yep.
more birds coming in along there, dropping the seeds, and the soils are just kind of more conducive to the growth.
Yeah.
So then we did walk a little bit in stand 8 where there was the previous harvesting, just to see if that, I think there was some discussion at one point about doing a follow-up harvest. Austin and I agreed that there were young trees coming in but they didn't necessarily need to be released further at this point. They seem to have enough sunlight. And there is a good amount of oak regeneration, some pine regeneration in there. And we checked out our chestnut trees, and those seem to be doing well. So yeah, I think stand 8 wasn't anything that we would necessarily need to worry about too soon. I didn't really see much for invasives coming in there, or at least the area that we walked.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Good.
The stilt grass seems to be more around the landing.
Right.
Yeah.
Coming down the road there.
Yeah. Okay. And then you guys also looked at stand 5, which is along the Julia's Trail where the big pine area is. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that area they had recommended timber stand improvement, which is really just removing the poorest quality trees and trying to pick certain crop trees to release so that you have kind of a better quality stand and not as dense of a stand. I thought that area it would be hard to get to. It's kind of remote compared to the other stands we were talking about treating, and I think it's kind of nice to have that dense softwood stand because it's very different from the rest of the property.
Mhm.
A lot of wildlife use that for cover in the winter, and it's just diversity is kind of what we're going for, trying to promote lots of different types of wildlife habitats, and also with climate change and all these pests and diseases and uncertainty, I think it's just good to have a variety of different structures and species. So I was inclined to kind of leave that area alone for those couple of reasons.
Jackie, is that the area that has the nice grassy area?
Yeah, beyond it, I think if you're coming from Burma Road through stand 5, you go over the bridge, and you're in that pine stand, and then at the far end of that is the little opening that I think was maintained as a meadow. We didn't go all the way down there. I believe it's still getting mowed.
There's one area that I recall as being particularly nice and has and very different from other areas with the grass
Yeah.
to grow.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's included in stand 6 or if that's part of stand 5.
Maybe it's this.
Maybe it might be over here more.
Yeah, it might be more
I
in
think it's right
6.
there, yeah.
Oh, okay, but it has pine. That's section 5 has pine.
5 is pine. Yeah, it's a lot of what people call like kind of cabbage pine. They have multiple stems, kind of gnarly looking. It usually happens when they've come up from an old field and there's an insect called the white pine weevil, which kills the main stem. So then the side branches become the new leaders.
Oh, okay.
So you have, 5 or 6 different stems. Yeah, so those are the areas we walked. I think Austin said he would send along landowner goals form for us to fill out.
Mhm.
Did he send that to us, Kathy? I can't.
Yes, he did send it, and I, you know, was gonna send it out to the commission after this meeting.
Okay.
After you had, you know, discussed what you saw. And I, you know, there's no action that we have to take quickly on any of this. But it was basically a list of potential goals that landowners might have, and you rank order them basically. So that his company basically knows what your goals are as landowners. It's similar to what we did with Conwood, because, you know, we discussed our goals with Conwood about what we wanted for the park health, the forestry health.
Mhm.
So, I mean, some people might have goals to make money by doing more timber harvests, you know. Some people want wildlife habitat, some people want, you know, to ensure that the forest stays diverse and healthy. So there's a variety of things on that list. And I'll send that out to everybody on the commission to look at, and maybe we can discuss it next meeting. And then we can get back to Hull and let them know.
That sounds good.
I have, you know, I personally have some reservations about doing cutting, particularly for the reasons you talked about, Jackie. One is, it seems like it just invites more invasives. And the second is that the public, especially if we start to do any kind of timber harvesting around any of the trails, I think it's going to be a harder sell. When we did the timber harvest in section 8, there's no trails there, and people really weren't walking down into that area to see it. And, you know, although nature loves a mess, people don't. And when you do a timber, when you do a timber harvest, it looks pretty darn messy, which is, you know, it's great. You want to leave a lot of the tops and things like that for wildlife and things to break down. But people don't like it. And I think we'd have to do an awful lot of education and public walking the property and talking to the forester. When we did that with Eric Hansen, when we did Stand 5, we had the public come out, and some people did come out and look at the area and ask questions. But if we start doing any kind of harvesting around the Wygo Trail, the Ruby Trail, I think it's going to be more challenging with the public.
Yeah, maybe
So,
we need to talk with Austin about that part of it and make sure he's on board with that and
mhm.
can, you know, field those questions and maybe do some woods walks, and make sure they're, you know, up for handling that part of it.
Yeah. I mean, if, for example, if they started to go into this, you know, Stand 9, which is where the Wygo Trail is, you know, everybody's gonna walk by that area. And I was kind of trying to figure out where they would even, because it's steep
Yeah.
in lots of places, and pretty rocky, where they're going to access, like where they would even come in off of Burma Road,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Because that is
I
very
don't know
steep.
if there's any way to get in through Stand 8, like go further up.
Oh, go this way and then here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And this is the right of way, although it's on our property,
Oh, right. I
to the
forgot.
DePilka property, but you know, I mean, it is the town's property here.
Yeah.
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 So,
Okay. So they could go up that right of way, which
and maybe come in from the back,
from there. Yeah.
possibly. Uh-huh.
I would have to look at a topographic map to see if
Oh,
that would work. But
yeah.
um,
I mean, some of the reason that we had kind of asked Austin to get involved originally was when we were talking about the Pettix property over here. If you all can see where my pointer is, right?
Yeah.
We're going to add onto the park. And one of the concerns we had was trying to come up with Plan B for getting the house out of there, the little camp. And one of the ideas we had was to use a forestry company that has the equipment to go up Burma Road and, take this out. And that's why we started talking to Austin, and then the whole idea of, well, while we're doing that, would we potentially want to do a timber harvest in this part here? Since they're already going to be going up this road, and, if we did that with them, if they helped us to get the building out, which I don't think we're going to end up using that method, because Troy's been able to identify renting a special tracked vehicle that the town could rent and get up there and use and then come back out. So, but anyway, that's kind of how Austin got involved in this, when we started talking about combining the two activities.
And we
Do
do,
we,
the other thing that I think, Mike D'Amato mentioned to, at the inland wetlands meeting, is that there is, the part of the park is in the town of Ashford. So that, but it's owned by the town of Willington, so we might be able to access, use that for access, to that section, as well.
You mean for a timber harvest coming in this way?
Or, but there is a piece in Ashford. but-
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a kind of triangular piece that goes out this way, I think. I've
Yeah.
looked at the map,
Yeah.
but it's, if you look at our, you can see,
Well, this little tiny piece here, Carol, that you can barely see how there's a little weight thing right here?
is that it?
That belongs to one of the, I'm trying to think, wait a minute. No, excuse me. I think I'm in the wrong spot here. This is the parcel that's owned by the person that's also in Lustig, and this part here, sorry, this is the Pettix property, because I actually
Right.
can see the
Yeah.
ponds here now. Yeah,
But this piece here is actually in Ashford.
Yeah. this one.
Because of the boundary correction thing that took place. It was a long story, but the boundary line was changed between the towns, and so this, but I think it's this piece, and Lustig and the Pettix is, did you say down more
Right
like
here.
here? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that we might be able to actually get into Pettix by coming in from that piece, which is our property.
Right, and we looked at that. I mean, I know that Mike had mentioned that, and we walked in here, and this would be, there's no road in here, so
Yeah,
they would
right.
have to create a whole road in here to get to here. But if, obviously if they were doing some timber harvesting in here, that might even make sense.
Right.
And so I think that was another reason we had talked about potentially getting Hull involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, but that's, just throw that out. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but we have to remember that we do, that is our property.
Yeah. Yeah.
are you required to send notices out to the people that live around that area, so that when it's time to do the harvest, they've already heard about it and have thought about it, instead of just all of a sudden they look out their window and there's this giant machine cutting down trees?
Yeah, there is
My-
a requirement for abutters notices.
That's
I
good.
think they changed that, Jackie.
Oh,
I recall listening to them talk at a meeting that they weren't going to notice them ahead of time, ahead of the inland wetlands meeting, that they may be just noticing them when they actually start the cutting.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it still might not give people, I mean, there's no public hearing because timber harvests are considered to be an agricultural right. So people that live, next to where the harvest is going to be, they're not even, they can come and listen to a meeting, but they can't speak at a meeting about the timber harvest, which is very frustrating for many people, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, it's never a public hearing. And even our recommendations and stuff, we can't like speak at the inland wetlands meeting. We have sent letters of concern or just to ask them to recommend a little better buffer around vernal pools or whatever, but we can't go to an inland wetlands meeting and speak at that meeting when they're talking about the timber harvest because there is no public hearing.
Yeah, and it's very different in what they can do, what inland wetlands can do.
Yeah.
It's very different because from timber harvest than from other kinds of things, such as constructing a house or other structure on a property with wetlands.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but I mean, so, I mean, I just have to throw this out because this is another issue that's been coming up, and Rod Parley from Cackawik had mentioned that there's more of a push right now to consider basically allowing forests to just mature toward old growth type
Yeah.
characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
and whether or not that is something that we want to consider for some of the open space in town. And how would we decide what properties that might be best for if we want to think about doing that? So, what are your thoughts on that, Jackie, just in general?
Well, I think, areas that maybe have old growth characteristics already would definitely be sections to consider. I think, in the parks that get heavily used by the public, they're going to continue to be altered. I don't really, I mean, foot traffic shouldn't do a whole lot, but it is going to be, I don't know. I think areas that are more remote maybe would be better suited to be reserve areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because of the maintenance, we'll continue to need to maintain the trails and take down hazard trees and all that around trails.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
No, that's a good
think
point.
it's a good idea to definitely identify some areas to do that. It depends how extreme, people want to go, because there have been some like easements written where you're not supposed to cut any vegetation, and then that, you can't even cut invasive plants. You can't really foresee what kind of needs these properties are going to have in the future.
Mhm.
Have
Yeah.
like written restrictions put in place about what can and can't be done. It might, make management a lot harder in 50 years, depending what happens exactly.
Yeah.
And there really aren't, if you look at what the town owns, a lot of it is subdivision open space, which are not very large parcels. And also where there could be issues raised by the residents of those areas. Because they're really intended as open space for a particular subdivision and not, and so they're closer to civilization, if you will, and less likely to be suitable for that, I think.
Mhm. Well, I think those are good thoughts and issues that we can maybe discuss further, get more information about, wait for Rod to come to one of our meetings. We had talked about him coming to this meeting, but that didn't work out. And I told him that maybe we could try to do is some kind of an in-person meeting in April, and he could come and talk more about that concept of forest reserves and, old growth characteristics and such, along with the professor from Trinity College that has been looking at some of those issues as well. In the meantime, where do you think we should go from here in terms of working with Hull? I can send out the form that he had sent me that lists all the potential goals that a forest land owner might have, and we could talk about it next time to rank order them, so we have a better idea of, kind of how that would guide us to the next step if and when we want to do a timber harvest, and, what type of timber harvest.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to discuss the goals at the next meeting, and then before we send anything to Austin, maybe try to make a decision on whether we do want to go forward before we, take up too much of his time, or even send him the landowner goals sheet, just to make sure we're committed, or at least committed with questions, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And he did offer to come to our meeting too, to answer questions. So,
Yeah.
he could zoom in maybe, in the next, 2 or 3 months or something, and we could discuss things. I mean, obviously, usually timber harvests are typically done during the winter and dry seasons.
Yeah, typically can't really predict what the dry seasons are going to be these days, but
As I'm sitting here listening to the rain on the porch roof.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, I'll do that. I'll send out the goals list, ask people to look it over. We can discuss next meeting. Meanwhile, I'll just get back to Austin and thank him for, doing that joint walk with you. And let him know we'll be working toward, coming up with the goals. And maybe ask him if he could come to February's meeting. Would that be reasonable?
I mean, we can always tell them we're not ready after the January meeting if
Okay.
that ends up being the case.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay.
Kat, one thing that would be helpful, I think, is not all of it. I thought I had a copy of the Conwood plan. But I couldn't lay my hands on it today, but it would be helpful to have an update on what their latest recommendations were for each of these, for the Conwood. So we have a starting point would be what Conwood recommended, and as updated by the walks that Jackie and Austin's walk through those same parcels.
Mhm.
See whether there are changes from the recommendations in the plan. that we
Yeah.
put forth.
I can, there's a summary sheet in the Conwood plan that talks about each stand and what the recommendations were. So I can I can scan a copy of that and send it out to everybody. The plan itself, we have a digital copy and we have a printed copy. The
Yeah.
digital copy is way too big for me to send out as a file to everybody. Yeah, you wouldn't, yeah, it just doesn't
Fairly
work.
lengthy documents.
Yeah, but I can certainly make a copy of the summary page and send that out to everybody as well.
Kathy, I think I do have a copy of the management plan, digital copy.
Yeah, but is it too big to send out though? I mean, I have a
No.
copy too.
I think it's a PDF, so it's pretty condensed.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me look at it again then. If I have it on my computer somewhere as well. I just was assuming it was, but obviously I got it from Conwood when they sent
Yeah,
it.
and Austin had emailed it to me, I think.
Okay,
And yeah, it went through no problem. So
okay.
I can try to forward that to everyone.
All right, well, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful to, if we're going to discuss this again at our next meeting.
Okay.
to give us some.
Yeah, Jackie, when you send it out, just let everybody know that, we'll be discussing the, maybe the summary page at least, and just give them the page.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thanks for doing that.
No problem.
It's nice having a forester among us, isn't it?
Certainly
Oh,
is.
yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, moving on to Knowlton Preserve and the Talmadge Conservation Tract. No issues have been reported on the trails. Had mentioned at the last meeting that a landowner that's adjacent to the Talmadge tract, the gentleman that purchased the Talmadge home, had contacted the town. I forget if it was the town clerk or the selectman's office, because they forwarded the person's name to me, but they said that he was trying to find out if the town wanted to sell a portion of the Talmadge property to him, because he wanted more of a buffer from his own home, the back of his house. And I explained to him, because of the grant and all of that other stuff, that the town would not be in a position to offer it for sale. But that we certainly, I talked to him about his concerns, and he has a small pond that's in the back of his house. You can see it from where the trail goes around on the Talmadge property, on the newest Talmadge property. And he was concerned that a child might possibly, be on the trail and see the pond and go over and fall in his pond. And I don't think it's a very likely scenario, given that there's a very large stone wall and a stream in front, even before his pond. It would be pretty hard for a kid to get over there. And I'm assuming that most children on a trail like that are probably with somebody. But anyway, I told him he could certainly do some things like put up signage that said, no trespassing, just so that people were aware of where the border was. And that we would make an effort, if he wanted, we could walk out there and look at the area and see if there was something that we could do that would be helpful. Maybe even consider somehow growing some type of conifers that would reduce the visibility of his pond. So anyway, I reached out to him again to see if we could set up a meeting, because Patty wanted to be involved as well. And he said he's kind of busy right now, and that after the holidays, he would call me back. So we'll set something up, to meet him out there and talk.
And I kind of agree with Bob, mentioned at the last meeting that it really should be, that I walked the property a week or so ago, and it's like, it should be his responsibility. There's this huge stone wall.
Mhm.
We could put some signage up, but I think it's his responsibility.
I
I agree
agree.
with what Bob
I
said
agree.
last time.
Yeah,
Kathy, one thing that Michael Block is planning on doing timber harvest on property that adjoins the Talmadge property.
at the Knowlton.
Knowlton, excuse me, not Talmadge, Knowlton, yeah. That
Yeah.
adjoins Knowlton. That was one of the items that came before inland wetlands on Monday.
Yeah.
And I forget
Yeah.
what my husband told me about his plans and what his aim was.
Obviously, I saw that they flagged his boundaries, because I was over there after I saw that on inland wetlands agenda. And his boundaries are all flagged at this point, so I don't think there'll be any impact. I'm hoping not to the Knowlton. We certainly can keep an eye on it. Yeah. But thanks, Carol, for mentioning that.
Just in case somebody says, what's going on?
Yeah.
At least we know that it's an adjacent landowner who is having some work done.
Yeah, yep. When we move the trail that comes out onto Marsh Road, we moved it more to the south. So it's not really along the area where Mr. Block is. So I think it's going to be less of an issue in terms of, people using the trail.
Yeah.
So,
But it's, I think it's just important to be aware of what's going on adjacent to our properties, and in case
Right.
anybody asks.
yeah, yeah. And see, we didn't get notified about the potential timber harvest there, as the managers, so to speak, of the town's property. Nobody mentioned it to us. And that's just the way it is right now with the forestry applications. I think that the landowners aren't necessarily, the adjacent landowners aren't necessarily getting a lot of notice about what's happening, and they don't really have a say in it either, which can be very frustrating. I've seen people come to the meetings and get very frustrated because they're not allowed to say anything. So, in, past meetings.
That applies to us the same as any other adjacent landowner.
Yeah. No. Any other comments about the Knowlton or the Talmadge property? Moving on to town development. Bob's not here to give us an update from planning and zoning. Is there anybody else that wants to give any updates about any of the other town commissions that might impact our work? Collaborative organizational news and communication. Kakiwick, as I mentioned, that Rod Parley and Professor Susan Messino from Trinity College would like to talk to the commission, and I propose that we could try to meet in April, perhaps even make it an in-person meeting at the town office building, so that we could, hear their presentation and get to meet them. How do people feel about that idea of meeting in person, maybe in April?
Kind of like to get back to in-person meetings.
I would be game.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
All right, we'll see if we can make it happen. Parks and Rec, I mentioned that the director is leaving, current director is leaving, and I'm not sure what the plan is. Somebody told me they may start to try to use see if somebody on the Park and Rec Commission would be willing to fill in for the director, at least until they can hire someone new. So I'm just not sure how this will impact us kind of working with them on other projects like joint hikes and things like that. The public library, the raffle basket was well received. Thank you, Nora, for all your work on that. Connie Bedan told me that they raised a lot of money with the raffles. They had 35 donated baskets.
Great.
And
Wow.
she said that they put little cans so people could put their tickets in front of the basket they wanted to, try to win. She said we had a lot of tickets in our can in front of the basket. So it was one that the public really liked.
Thank you. Thank you, Nora.
She can start a business.
Yeah. Maybe we should start having our own raffles for open space. We'll put some baskets out at Fenton Ruby, right?
I think we should bring back the white mugs. Mine are fading.
Yeah, the white mugs.
I don't have a white mug. Where'd you get a white mug?
Oh my
Oh.
gosh, I think I've had it for 30 years.
Yeah, I don't know
Wow.
what happened to ours, but yes, the mugs were an interesting story. It took a long time to unload the mugs.
Well, but they've
And
lasted.
I think somebody had them ship the mugs when it would have cost us a lot less money. We'd have somebody with a station wagon have gone and picked them up. But yeah.
I like my coffee in a white mug.
Well, we've had some interesting ventures in selling merchandise, some of which have been easier than others.
Hmm. And that used to be where, Carol, at the flea market table, or how did you sell them?
That was at the flea market.
At the flea market, yeah. We sold them at the flea market. And I think they, I can't remember. I don't,
There
Hi.
used to be a flea market in town?
well, at the Willington, the Federated Church thing,
September, right?
the September, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That,
Oh,
that
the one on the green, the one
one
on the green.
yeah, yep.
Oh, okay.
We used to have a table there, well, we used to, for many years, or was that, when is that? Is that? Is that? I can't remember, is that, a holiday weekend? I think
Um,
usually is it on, in
It's
September?
near Labor Day, I think.
Labor
I mean,
Day.
they just had it. They
Labor
just
Day.
had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is,
I remember when I first joined the commission that we used to have, a table there. We had the pop-up tent. We had the banner there for the commission. I'm sure it was even earlier than my time that was something the commission did, but is that anything that people want to consider trying to do again, is to have a table in September at the flea market, just to put out information to the public about different things from conservation, or anybody interested in?
it would be
Let's
nice.
revisit.
When we revisit, when we get closer to the time, because we would have to ask for space. And, it's, yeah, there you go.
Look at
The
it's so
owl on it. Yeah, it's got the owl on it.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody has the mug? Where's the
yeah.
mug?
Yeah, show the mug.
Laura
again,
has
Laura.
one.
It has Fenton Ruby on it.
yeah.
Ah, oh, yes, that's very nice. Look at that.
That's
I
That's
love it.
classy.
Yeah.
I'd
Well, I'll
forgotten
think
about that
that.
mug.
Well, I
know
will,
we have
I
it,
will
but I haven't
continue
had
to
it.
bring this up then as a agenda item, just because it takes us a while to make decisions, and also for people to decide if they're gonna, perhaps volunteer to head something. So I'll put that on our agenda for next time, just kind of other things that we can do to educate the public.
Yeah, and I think we also have on occasion had a table at Willington days.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Memorial Day weekend usually?
Yeah,
Yeah, and we have sometimes done that as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
Yeah,
whether,
and that's Memorial Day weekend, Carol?
I think it is, isn't it? I don't know. I've gotten out of the flow of things.
I thought so too, yeah. And then, of course, there's gonna be the town's, is it 350th
Oof.
anniversary? I know they're planning for that. I don't know all that's going on with that, but I forget which year that is. Isn't that in 26 or 7? I'm not sure.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, Bob's on that
I'm getting
committee.
the town and the church mixed up.
Oh.
Stars Congregational Church is kind of 17 on something or other anniversary.
But I mean, it's another opportunity.
Yeah, maybe only 300.
To get out and be more visible to the public, and to talk to people about, what the commission does, and see if we can get new members too. It's another way to perhaps drum up some business. I should have taken an opportunity last night at the town meeting to let people know we're looking for commission members.
Well, people's focus was elsewhere last night.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank God for my husband calling the question.
Yes.
Not many people would know how to say enough, guys.
Your questions are redundant. Okay. Yeah. Open space opportunities. Well, as you probably, those of you were at last night's meeting, and those of you who follow, the town overwhelmingly voted to support the purchase of the Pettix property. So that was wonderful. And I did send an email to Mrs. Pettix today, and I let her know that. I talked to the first selectman after the meeting about starting to engage the attorney to work on the purchase and sales agreement as well as the title search. And he suggested that I talk to Mike D'Amato because Mike is also working with Halloran and Sage. Ken Slater is the attorney they use, and I told him we had used Rich Roberts and we really liked him. So I emailed Mike, and he's going to talk to Ken and to Rich. And because Ken Slater is also the attorney for Ashford for the land use there. And so if there's any issues with Lustig Road and the title search, Ken could maybe look into that as well. So we're going to start that process and get that going so that we can see when we can close on the property. So,
Yeah, and we might need to I don't know, should we be talking with Laura Pettix about anything she'd like in the sales agreement, such as wording on on signage?
yeah, I did put that in my letter to her.
Yeah.
You know, specifically how she would want something worded. If she could get back to us that we would, you know, basically what a purchase and sales gives her an opportunity too, is we can put in what we think are her wishes. She'll look it over. If she doesn't think that we've gotten it right, she'll let us know, but we'll try to make sure it's right at the
Yeah,
first go.
just thinking, you know, but if we can sort of like feel her out to see if there are, if there are things that she would like to see in the agreement.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we have a really good template from past purchase and sales for the other properties. And particularly because they're all related to preserving the property, you know, for public recreation, passive public recreation, wildlife habitat and so on. So a lot of that verbiage can be transferred over to this
Yep.
purchase and sales agreement. And
It'll be much easier to negotiate than the last one.
oh yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yep.
Yep.
So, if there's no more comments or questions on the Pettix property, I'll move on to the Jared Sparks property. I did try to contact the landowner again. We had sent her a letter back in April. Then I followed up in June with a phone call, and at the time she said basically that she was interested, but she hadn't really given it a lot of thought of how she would go about that, hadn't talked to her family, and she said she would get back in touch with me. We hadn't heard from her, so I followed up this month and I left a message. She didn't answer her phone. So, you know, we'll see what happens with that over time. Anybody else aware of any potential open space opportunities or? Okay.
But that's I think that's that one that would be a particular interest to the town.
Yeah.
Of the Jared Sparks connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus it's adjacent to some town property already too.
Well,
And
yeah, it's already next to protected land.
yeah. Well, actually, the town's parcel is not technically protected yet. That parcel that the town owns that was.
Oh, yeah,
taken
the
back
one
taxes.
that they keep arguing about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the one that, yeah.
The what Rosalie Heck's property, which is under an easement from Joshua's trust, is also close by. So, you know,
Yeah.
it would make a good addition in that area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Willington Wire, the next article is going to be due the end of March for their spring edition. And I was wondering if anybody would be interested in volunteering to write a one-page article on something related maybe to, you know, conservation, something that's kind of got a spring theme or If anybody would like to do that, I really would appreciate somebody working on that. Anybody at this point interested in doing the article or? Okay, we'll keep that on
Why
the,
don't we take a month off the holidays and
yeah, for sure,
and think about it in January.
sure.
What does it do? Yeah.
At the end of March.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's not due until then. And we have lots of old articles. If people have never done one before, I can send you copies of all the old articles for that point in time. Many of them have been about, getting out on the trails, a little bit of information about, the Conservation Commission, looking for new members. So we have a template that's pretty easy to follow if you, don't want to do something that's a little bit out of the box, and that's fine to do something out of the box too. Marilyn's done some wonderful ones on beavers and also putting your garden to bed, in the fall. Those were great articles. So
Yeah, you just have to think about what spurs you at what time of the year it is that you're writing about.
yeah,
I mean, you could also write about the all the bears over in the other side of the Connecticut, but you want to try to make it what's happening around here.
yeah, and that time of the year there are bear sightings in town. People, should be reminded to take down their bird feeders, those kinds of things.
Right.
Or, that's a good point, Marilyn, about the bears too. So, communications, there's nothing that's come in for the Conservation Commission in the last month. Support for farmland protection. We've been kind of tabling that. I, just leave it on our agenda in case people have any updates or want to move forward on that in some way. Anything to report, Jackie, or I know Carol had made some comments about it
Not
too.
from me yet, but yeah, I will definitely put it on my list for hopefully the next month.
Okay,
I think we
perfect.
need to decide which things we want to bring forward, and we were talking about bringing forward not the one about the structures, tax exemption for agricultural structures, but also Jackie, weren't we going to talk about the right to farm?
Yeah, we had discussed that. There's different it I think that's not as much of a big action item as like a statement of support.
Yeah.
But the ordinances to help with tax reduction for farmers, I think, would just be more beneficial overall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would, and that's, but and it's also a way of calling attention to the fact that there is agriculture going on in this town, despite some people's comments to the contrary. Yeah, there is, and people, I think, are not as aware as they might be about what exactly is going on in Willington in the way of agricultural activities.
Yeah, when we had the tax assessor print out that list of people that have it in 490 for agricultural, I was really surprised at how many people have that designation. So I really liked Ashford a while back had put out a list of all the different people that had agricultural products in town. Because I think they have the ag committee, is that right, Jackie?
Yeah, they have separate from their conservation commission, they have an ag commission.
Yeah, I thought that was really helpful. So people, local people would know and try to support those businesses.
Brooks Orchard is now has a different name, and it's a wonderful place to go. That they're a young couple, and they are working very hard to add some additional things besides just agriculture to that land, and they are very energetic, and they have beautiful food, and they will be closing soon because it's it's getting cold out. They'll they're gonna harvest the rest of their apples and keep them in a storage bin. But, and then after that, they'll probably close for the season.
Hmm.
But it's nice to see Crook's Orchard back in business up in Ashford. If you don't know where it is, it's in
Yeah.
Ashford.
The one that used to be called the Horse Whisperer.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a while, yeah.
Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks for that
Nice
update.
people, very nice people.
And then review of current open space and natural resource maps and documents. One of the other things that Rod Parley was going to speak about was the importance of doing natural resource inventory and give some examples of how some towns have approached it. We do have a natural resource inventory, but it's rather old. And it'd be great if we could start working on it maybe next year to look at how we could update those maps and some goals, recommendations, so that we'd be ready by 2028 for the new POCD.
Right.
So,
I was just gonna, yeah, so it would be important to link that to the next update of the POCD.
yeah, definitely. Okay, and then membership, just as I had reflected in the correction of the minutes, that on November 18th, the Board of Selectmen did reappoint Jackie and Carol as regular members to a 3-year term, 12/02/2024 to 12/01/2027. So I wanted to make sure I just added that to our minutes today.
Thank you guys for upping.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. And then discussion about how we could possibly identify, new members. People have thoughts on how we could recruit some new people. We do have 2 alternates and 1 regular member position open. Any ideas on how we could try to recruit?
I mean, I would take the regular position because I seem to be ending up coming to the meetings anyway. So, I mean, I will if that would make it easier to get alternates.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
Kathy, we need, who's not continuing as a regular, I mean, you said
well,
regular,
we don't have, Peter's position was never filled. It's still open.
Oh, I thought Laura did.
Oh,
Sure.
wait a minute.
Yeah, no, we
I'm
have
sorry.
a full complement of regular members, I think.
Yes, excuse me.
okay.
You
You
are
forgot,
right.
you forgot about
Yes.
Laura Rodriguez, right?
I did. I
Yeah.
did.
All right, keep
I
me
have
as
an
an
issue with keeping you guys all,
keep
like-
me as an alternate.
okay. So how can we get some more alternates?
Boy, that's a tough one.
Well, one thing is that as an alternate, they're, you don't have to be there every meet. You're welcome to every meeting, but you don't have to necessarily have to be present. That might be something that would make it a little bit easier to, but I don't know, where do we find our pool of potential members, whether they're any of these trail stewards are likely to be interested, or that's
Scouts, the scouts, the students at E.O. Smith. I mean, how old do you have to be an alternate?
You just have to be a resident, I think, and
Right,
I'm
right.
not sure if there's an age limit. Do you know, Carol?
No. I don't
I
know.
mean, some of these kids that
I don't know if you have to be an elector or not. I don't think so.
Some of
I
these,
have to
like-
check and see.
yeah, some of
Oh.
these kids maybe through guidance that need a little something.
Well, usually
you know.
at some point in the year, they need to do a project. I remember my boys having to do projects, so I guess you'd have to talk to somebody at E.O. Smith about how we could be a resource for kids who have to come up with a project, and they could learn something through working with us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a whole different issue from recruiting somebody to be consistently
Yeah, I know.
present. Yeah, yes. And I don't know how you find those folks. Um,
Well, I think,
Yeah,
one of the
what-
things is word of mouth, if you meet someone out on a trail that just enjoys being outdoors, or, let them know we have volunteer opportunities to help out with, work days, but also that maybe they want to just, they might be interested in coming to a meeting and seeing what it's like. I mean, I think sometimes inviting somebody one-on-one can work pretty well.
Yeah.
We obviously are putting things in the Willington Word, usually as part of the article that just kind of lets people know we have openings.
Yeah, that's usually at the bottom of the article,
Yeah,
letting them know that, you can come and join us.
um, I don't know, again, I just want to keep that on our radar screen because again, many of us have been on the commission for many, many years. And, although we're all willing to continue to serve at this moment, we never know what's going to happen. And, it would be very good if we could kind of keep our feelers out, see if we can draw in some new folks.
Sure would be.
Yeah. Okay, new business, appointment of officers for 2025. So we have chairmanship, vice chair, treasurer, and secretary open as positions. Does anybody want to nominate someone for any of the positions, or does anybody have a desire to fill a position? I want to speak to that. Really encourage people to consider, taking on a role, or sharing a role. If you don't feel like you want to do the minutes every month, maybe sharing that responsibility with someone else. I would really appreciate if somebody would start taking minutes, because it's really hard to run the meeting and take minutes. And I'm very willing to help anybody who's never done the minutes before. We have a really good template. It's fairly easy, by following the agenda, just to add the information in. The secretary's other responsibility would be, once the minutes are written up, is just to email those over to the town clerk, and to the assistant town clerk and to Tish. We used to have to hand carry them over to the town clerk's office, like within 48 hours of, but we don't have to do that anymore. So
Woohoo!
it's
Woohoo!
just, it's a
All
matter.
be done electronically, yes.
Yeah. And, I'm pretty verbose. Unfortunately, I tend to write a lot of notes, but that doesn't mean that anybody else that wants to take this on or try it out has to write a lot of information under each of the items. I just tend to do it because that's me. But, all of our meetings are recorded. That's the other thing. So if you want to do the minutes and you're not sure you captured everything, you can just go on on YouTube, and you can, listen to the recording. If you feel you've missed something, or you could check back with one of us and, to write the article, to write up the minutes. So I really would encourage people to consider it, trying it out. It's not very hard. It probably takes me an hour after a meeting to write up the minutes. So, and you don't have to do it the same night. You can do it the next day, We do, they do want us to get in the minutes within 48 hours if you've taken a vote on something. If there's no vote, then there's really no pressure to get it right into the town clerk. I think we're one of the few commissions that gets our minutes in on time,
All
honestly.
right, all right.
Yeah. And Marilyn has.
We are far and away the best commission in the town of Willington.
Let's pat ourselves on the back.
But in terms of what we accomplished, and we've always come up with suggestions on recommendations for people to fill in positions. We do our job and we work at it consistently and well. And yeah, I think we I
You
think
do a good job.
we do a good job. We really do. And I know that we are well, or at least I don't know, maybe he tells other people this, but the first selectman has said that we're his favorite commission.
That's because we don't bring them any problems.
Yeah, right, because we've got our act together and we know what we're doing and we come forward with a proposal. We've got all our everything lined up, but all our ducks in a row, and we're committed to what we're doing.
So, do I hear any motions for any of the positions? I'm willing to continue serving as your chairperson, if people, want to nominate me. I don't know how Carol feels about continuing as treasurer, but I would love to nominate her.
Yeah, sure.
So I would like to nominate Carol Jordan to be appointed as treasurer. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Marilyn, thank you. Any discussion? Anybody else want to throw their hat in the ring as treasurer? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed, abstained? So moved. All right. And then any other nominations?
Shall we vote on you, Kathy, or should we just say hallelujah? She'll do it again.
If somebody wants to make a formal motion to nominate me, I would accept it. So
I move that we nominate Kathy Demers to be chair. Is that the right word? Are you the chair?
mhm.
You're not the step stool?
Thank you, Marilyn.
I nominate Kathy Demers to be the chair of the Willington Conservation Commission.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Nora. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, abstained? So moved. Okay. How about vice chair? Is there anybody out there interested in being a vice chair? Not really a lot to the job. Just, sometimes I might need a little support with something or somebody to follow up on something. And I might ask you to do that as vice chair. It comes with a, not so great stipend. But it's something you could put on your resume. So
Keep going, Kathy. This is great.
I know. So
Yeah, but I think well, that it probably is a good idea to have someone, because there might be occasions when Kathy's just not available. Zoom has made it in some ways more difficult for Kathy because she can be available wherever she is when she'd probably rather be up in Vermont enjoying herself and not worrying about sending out agendas and things of that kind. So, there are, I think maybe people ought to be thinking about whether they'd be willing to take on some of this or sort of ease in to some of these tasks. Because we need, there's no guarantee whether I'll be able to finish out my term. I hope so, but
yeah.
But life is full of surprises.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything that's really that difficult. It's just a little bit of, extra time spent on commission stuff for all of these positions. So, I hope people will consider it. You don't have to make a decision today, but I'll put this out again when we have Patty and Laura here at the next meeting, hopefully, and just encourage people to maybe step up for a year as one of the officers. So any other discussion or comments? Okay, we'll move on. Any other new business that people want to bring up tonight? Okay, next meeting will be January 15th. Via Zoom. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? It's 8:57.
So move.
Okay, any second?
I can
I'll
second.
second.
Okay,
Marilyn.
Marilyn, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
all in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Jackie and Kathy.
And thank everybody. I mean, we're all working
Yeah.
together well as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just, I know
Really
Jackie
appreciate
did that work and Kathy,
Yeah.
the presentation was awesome last night.
Yeah, it was.
as
Yeah.
Carol mentioned, we have a lot of support from the residents as well on
Mhm.
this.
Awesome.
Okay, well, hopefully y'all have a good holiday season and we'll
I
see
know.
you in 2025.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Happy
Alright.
holidays, plural.
Good night.
Good night.